All right, folks, welcome back. Michael Cohen here on the Sports Talk Nation as we are going to talk about the end of the Yankees season. Yes, it is a day of a lot of Yankee tears out there as the Yankees fall to the Toronto Blue Jays 5-2 in Game 4. They lose the series of the American League Division Series, obviously 3-1. And now everyone is left with picking up the pieces and trying to find out what went wrong here in 2025 for the Bronx Bombers. So let's discuss first. Let's quickly recap what happened here in Game 4 and really in this series in general. The biggest takeaway is this. The Toronto Blue Jays are just a better team than the New York Yankees are at this point. The Blue Jays have better players, they're better put together, and they are better managed than the Yankees are at this point. Case in point is this. Here are the Blue Jays with a total disadvantage going into this series as far as starting pitching is concerned, especially in Game 4. The Yankees going with the young guy in Cam Schillitter, who, of course, destroyed the Red Sox last week and pitched well in Game 4. And the Blue Jays are going with a bullpen game, and the Blue Jays find a way with 8 different pitchers to win this game and lock down the Yankees. Now, of course, there's a lot of reasons for that. Yankees left 10 guys on base in this game. They were 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. They were swinging out of their shoes at different points in this game and weren't taking good at-bats. And that's really been the case the entire series. But think about this for a second. The Blue Jays came into this series really without a true, outside of Kevin Gausman, really without a true ace or number 2 guy in this rotation at all in this series. Max Scherzer wasn't put on this Toronto Blue Jay roster because he hadn't pitched well. He had an ERA over 9 coming down a stretch in September. Chris Bassett was dealing with a back injury, didn't make the ALDS roster. He'll probably be there for the ALCS, but we'll see. And Jose Barrios also injured with a knee injury. So they had 3 guys that were part of the rotation at different parts this year that weren't a part of this rotation in this first round series against the Yankees, and they found a way to get through it. So it tipped the cap, if you will, to John Snyder of the Toronto Blue Jays for finding a way, especially in Game 4, 8 different pitchers to find a way to keep the Yankees off balance and to win this game and win this series. The other big reason why the Blue Jays won this series is because their offense was incredible. The Blue Jays hit .338 in this series. .338! Compare that to, the Yankees who struggled offensively. Let me just pull up their numbers here for the Yankees. Compare that to the Yankees who, of course, over 7 games in the playoffs, if you include the Boston series, hit only .251, and it was probably lower than that against the Blue Jays. The Yankees really struggled to pitch against this Toronto lineup. That's how good this group was. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., of course, leading the way. He hit .529, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. But it wasn't just him. I mean, you have Ernie Clement hitting .643 in the series. He had 5 RBIs and a home run. Alejandro Kirk, he struggled. He hit .222. He still hit 2 home runs in this series. George Springer, who struggled, also hit a home run and 2 RBIs in this series. Dalton Varsho, he hit .438 in this series. Addison Barger hit .333, had 3 big hits in Game 4 last night. Nathan Lucas, of course, hit .333 in this series, and as we're going to talk about in a moment, he had probably the back-breaking hit in this game, the 2-run single in the 7th inning that gave the Blue Jays a 4-1 lead, and all but wrote an end to the Yankees season here in 2025. So again, the Blue Jays hit .338 in this postseason series against the Yankees. The Yankees starters, of course, did not pitch well. Outside of Cam Schillitter, nobody pitched well. Max Fried got shelled. Carlos Rodon got shelled. To a degree, Luis Hill didn't have a great outing. Of course, only went 2 2/3 in Game 1. But the Yankees' ERA overall as a team in the postseason, 5.61. Cam Schillitter, just by himself, had a 1.26 ERA. You take him aside, it's not looking good for the Yankees as far as the pitching is concerned in the playoffs. So that's a big part and parcel why the Yankees lost this series is they didn't pitch well enough, and the Blue Jays were outstanding in timely hitting, outstanding in the power department. I mean, here you have a game in Game 4, a totally different game than the previous 3 games where the Blue Jays were using muscle and power to get all of their runs. They had to use finesse and smarts to win in Game 4. Of course, this game is going to be talked about in that 7th inning. And a lot of people are going to talk about the opportunities the Yankees had and didn't cash in on, and also the error by Jazz Chisholm in that 7th inning, because here we are, Yankees are down 2-1. You have a runner on, and you get a ground ball right towards, actually not even a ground ball, it's a line drive. It was a hard hit ball by Andres Jimenez right past Schiller and towards Jazz Chisholm. Now it's a tough play, but the ball is right on the glove of Jazz Chisholm, and he can't field it. Scoots off his glove, goes into the outfield, now 2 runners aboard, and a couple of batters later, then we see the big base hit by Lucas as he gets the 2-run single, makes it a 4-1 ball game. But that was the difference in this game. That was the turning point in this game, was that error by Jazz Chisholm, who, outside of the home run that he had in Game 3, that gave the Yankees a 7-6 lead, more people are going to remember him for being seen yawning on the field in Game 3, and this error. And, of course, going 0 for 3 in Game 4 as well. He also had a big strikeout himself in the bottom of the 7th inning with a couple of runners on. People are going to remember that more than they're going to remember the home run that he hit in Game 3. So you have to sit there and wonder, what's Jazz Chisholm's future as far as the Yankees are concerned. We know how no Yankee fans will remember things like this moving forward. And that just goes into, again, as I transition here, into blown opportunities. I mentioned the Yankees had left 10 runners on base, or 1 for 6 runners in scoring position. 7 of those 10 runners they left on base were from the 6th inning through the 8th. 7. And then, of course, you take a look. 7th inning. Actually, go to the 6th inning. Yankees get Judge on and Stanton, and they can't drive either in. In fact, they had Judge on with 1 out and still couldn't drive him in. Of course, that inning ends, as I mentioned before, with Jazz Chisholm. He had the ground out. I mistakenly said strikeout. He had the ground out in the 6th inning. That cost the Yankees a chance to potentially tie the game. And then in the 7th inning, against Brandon Little, I thought it was the Yankees' best chance to do something. They had Paul Goldschmidt and Ahmed Rosario on base. And you have a personal situation. You have Trent Grisham coming up, who during the regular season was very good, especially down the stretch. All he has to do is either A, get a base hit, drive a run in, or a walk, loads the bases for Aaron Judge. Just get on. Aaron Judge is coming up. And yes, it then becomes, at the time it's a 4-1 game. Let's just say Grisham gets a base hit, makes it 4-2. You have 2 runners on, and here comes Judge. Oh, wow, that puts a lot of pressure on the Jays. What are they going to do at that point? Or if you walk and the bases are loaded, now you got bases loaded with Judge coming up as a potential go-ahead run in that inning. Of course, that never came to pass. So that was one of the biggest blown opportunities there for the Yankees. And then in the 8th inning, the Yankees actually do load the bases for Austin Wells, but the first pitch he sees, he skies out to shallow left center field, and the inning is over. And really all the opportunities at that point for the Yankees went by the wayside. So the Yankees at that point were pretty much done. As I mentioned, the Blue Jays were just a better team in this series. They did everything right in this series. And no disrespect to Seattle or Detroit, both of those teams still playing in that ALDS on the other side of the bracket. And they're going to have a deciding Game 5 on Friday. If you had to ask me, I would say Toronto is the odds-on favorite, I would think, to get to the World Series and represent the American League. They just do a lot of things right. They are just a good team. And you compare that to the Yankees right now. And this is going to be where everyone is right now at this point, is assessing what happened and deciding who to levy blame on. I know fans are going to want to blame Aaron Boone, but I don't know where you blame Aaron Boone right now. I know the fans like to do it all the time. Every time the Yankees have a losing streak or they lose a couple in a row, or in this case they get eliminated from the playoffs, it's all Aaron Boone's fault. But where in this series can you assess blame on Aaron Boone when you're going up against a better team in the Toronto Blue Jays, a team that was the number 1 seed in your league and won your division? Where do you assess the blame? Because he didn't play Ben Rice at first base? in Game 4 instead played Paul Goldschmidt, who was hitting .444 in the playoffs. I mean, you want to get, nitpicking on that? I don't know where you want to assess blame there on him. In so many ways, Boone, and people have said this all the time, is an extension of what the Yankees brand is in the front office. What the Yankees say from guys like Brian Cashman on down go towards Aaron Boone and what a lot of the decisions the Yankees have made, not just this year, but over the years, and over the last 7 or 8 years that he has been the manager of this team. Now, if you want to say to me that, hey, the Yankees, it's been 8 years, it's time to move on. Maybe the peak was last year in 2024 when the Yankees got to World Series. I think that's a fair argument. But I would also say, wouldn't you have to look at the entire operation from top on down, how the Yankees bring in players, how they develop players? You would have to look at everything, not just the manager's seat, in my opinion. And the Yankees are going to have questions going into next year. Everyone's getting, of course, another year older. What do the Yankees do at first? Do they bring back Goldschmidt or do they not? Do they believe Ben Rice is serviceable as an everyday first baseman or do they not? Do they look outside the organization? Very likely. Do they sign up try to steal Pete Alonso away from the Mets? That's going to be fun to watch this offseason. That's going to be a storyline. Do they go for somebody else if, let's say, Alonso stays with the Mets or goes elsewhere? Do they look to improve second base after what happened here with Jazz Chisholm in the playoffs? Do they want to bring him back? Do they look to change shortstop? Remember, Caballero was, at times, a better defensive shortstop this year, even gave him a little more pep offensively. But Volpe did play better, hit better towards the end of the season and in the playoffs. What do you do at shortstop? Do you believe that Anthony Volpe can be your shortstop moving forward? Those are questions that the Yankees have to answer moving forward. And I think also the rotation, yes, you're going to get Garrett Cole back healthy for a full year. And you put him in this rotation on paper with Cole, Schiller, Rodon, Luis Heel, yes, on paper, and Max Fried, rather, as well. Got to throw him in there. On paper, looks great, right? Especially Cole, Fried, Schiller. My goodness, what a 1, 2, 3. But the back end, do you trust Carlos Rodon, who, yes, won 18 games for you this year, but historically can be kind of erratic, as we saw it in Game 3, where he kept 6 runs and put the Yankees in a 6-run hole in Game 3 before that incredible comeback and the incredible home run by Aaron Judge. Those are questions that also have to be answered for the Yankees. And also, what do they do with that bullpen? Is David Bednar your closer moving forward? Or, I mentioned Pete Alonso is a guy the Yankees could try to steal. Do you also try to look at maybe a Edwin Diaz, who could be opting out via the Mets and could be a free agent? Do you try to steal him from the Mets and make him your closer? Because the Yankees really don't have a closer this year. They really went without a closer pretty much all year after the Devin Williams experiment crashed and burned. So they have a very interesting offseason. It's funny that I mentioned the Mets because it feels like these two teams are going to be very intertwined in some of the things that happened here. Of course, the Mets going through a lot of their own changes, not just in the personnel department, but also in the coaching staff. They're going to be changing a lot of different coaches, bringing in new assistants to work with Carlos Mendoza, who was, of course, at one point the Yankees bench coach. Do the Mets start, prying out coaches who have Yankee experience? Should be interested to see how these two teams battle one another throughout the course of the offseason here in 2025 going into 2026. And also, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, who I think will be 34 years old next season. And this year, and the last couple of years, this year, of course, showed some injury concerns this year, but still is an incredible hitter, right? 53 home runs this year. Of course, the big home run, his signature moment of the postseason, people were waiting for. He had a very good postseason. Hit 500 in the postseason. I mentioned the home run. Where does he play as far as defense is concerned moving forward? Do you continue to trot him out there in right field? Or does he, like a Bryce Harper in Philadelphia, have to move? Does he move to first base? I remember there was a time in spring training the Yankees were trying Judge out at first base just to see how things are going. Or do you make him a DH? And that also leads to a question about Giancarlo Stanton, who had a very bad postseason. Stanton, I believe, still has a number of years left in his contract, but he is, let's see here. How old is Stanton at this point? He is 35. He'll be 36 next season. What do you do with him? Do you try to eat that contract? Do you just roll with it for another year? That's another question the Yankees have as they move forward in 2020 towards 2026. As I would think they're going to have to try to get a little bit younger, up and down this lineup. See how that plays out for them. So that's where the Yankees are. I don't anticipate any crazy moves. I think Boone will be back. I think Cashman will be back. I know that it's going to be to the chagrin of a lot of Yankee fans. And I think when you think about that now, 16 years for the Yankees without a World Series championship. Hey, look, there's other teams that have had much longer droughts. One of them is in this town, like the Mets, between World Series titles. So take that with a grain of salt as well when you say the Yankees haven't won a World Series in 16 years. But I feel in some ways the Yankees, this last thing I'll say, are kind of like the Dallas Cowboys of baseball right now because they have the brand. They are the Yankees. They are the history of baseball in a lot of ways. 27 World Series championships. So many great players in baseball history are associated with this franchise. But over the last, now 15 years or so, and maybe even more recently in the last 10 or so, they have not been very good when it comes to winning in the postseason. Only one trip to the World Series, and that was last year. Are they now the Dallas Cowboys of baseball? It kind of feels that way, right? Cowboys, America's team, the star in the helmet, the uniform, the silver, the white, the blue, all that stuff. But the Cowboys just can't seem to get out of their own way, right? Feels that way with the Yankees right now in some ways. So it'll be interesting to see. I know that's going to what a lot of cynical people will be saying here as we move forward into 2026. So for the Yankees, it's a lot of questions about the roster, roster construction as they move forward into next year. Folks, leave your thoughts below. How do you feel about this end of the season for the Yankees? And could the Blue Jays win a World Series for the first time since 1993? I think the Dodgers might have something to say about that. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk to you next time.